A large portion of the Jewish nation has returned to its homeland, but the heart, soul, and mind of much of the Jewish nation are still in exile mode. This state of affairs must and will inevitably change. This is Torah Nation TV from Jerusalem, and we are speaking with the head of Machon Shilo, Rabbi David Bar-Hayim. Shalom, Rabbi Bar-Hayim.
Shalom.
In 2007, the Beth Din of Machon Shilo, headed by the rabbi, publicized a Psak Halacha which stated that Ashkenazi Jews may consume Kitniyot on Passover. Does this Psak Halacha apply only to Ashkenazi Jews living in Eretz Yisrael or to Ashkenazi Jews all over the world?
The Psak Halacha, which we published in 2007, Tafshin Samech Zayin, applies to all Jews all over the world, wherever they may be, Ashkenazim, Sfaradim, and Temanim. That's number one. Number two, it is true that in that Psak Halacha we pointed out that there is a further and additional reason why in Eretz Yisrael this is a very simple matter to jettison this minhag of Kitniyot. The reason being that the halachic rule of thumb is that if a custom is accepted in a certain place, there is a minhag hamakom in a certain area, and a Jew lives in that area is obligated, therefore, to follow that custom. If he, however, leaves that area and moves to a new area where that custom is not kept, he is no longer required to follow that custom. He goes according to the custom of the new place, his new place of residence. This is agreed to by all the Posakim. This is stated in the Talmud. There can be no discussion about this. So, when it comes to the reality of Eretz Yisrael today, where we have many Jews from all over the world, including Jews of Ashkenazi descent living in Eretz Yisrael, who have left behind them those countries where the vast majority of Jews, being Ashkenazim, practice this minhag and refrain from Kitniyot during Pesach. Here in Eretz Yisrael this was never the case. It has never been the case that a majority or an overwhelming majority of the Jews in Eretz Yisrael have practiced this minhag. In fact, the Ashkenazim brought this minhag to Eretz Yisrael when there already was a minhag in place. The custom of Eretz Yisrael was, as was of all Jews, once upon a time, was to eat Kitniyot on Pesach. And therefore this was a new idea, a new fangled idea, one could say, which certainly did not obligate the Jews of Eretz Yisrael, and since that time and down to the present time, should never have been considered anything obligatory. And therefore, all Jews in Eretz Yisrael, including Ashkenazim, have on their side, so to speak, if they wish to jettison this minhag, they have on their side a further argument, namely that in this country of Eretz Yisrael, this was never the minhag hamakom, this was never the local practice. But that is only part of the picture, and it's not even the main reason for dropping the minhag of Kitniyot.
On what other grounds is this Psak Halacha based?
There are a number of additional reasons for this Psak Halacha. A major one is the fact that this minhag is based on ta'ut, on error. This is a fact pointed out by almost all the Rishonim, all the rabbinic authorities, Halachic authorities of the Middle Ages in France and Germany, where this minhag grew up in the Middle Ages, starting from the 13th century, approximately, early 13th century. The vast majority of those medieval authorities were quite emphatic and explicit that this minhag is based on ta'ut, on error, and is not authoritative and does not need to be followed. This includes the comment of Rabbeinu Yeruham, who wrote that this is a minhag shtut, a foolish practice. This is true of the statement of Rabbeinu Yaakov Baal HaTurim, who wrote that this is a humra yethera, an unnecessary and extreme stringency. This relates to the fact that many of the greatest Chachamim of that time, like Rabbeinu Yehuda of Paris and Rabbeinu Yehiel of Paris, who knew of this minhag, explicitly ignored it, and they themselves ate Kitniyot on Pesach, as we know for a fact from many sources. And the rule of thumb is that when a custom is based on error, and a clear majority of the Torah sages of the time when this custom arises express their view that this minhag is foolish and mistaken and not to be followed, such a minhag does not have any halachic validity. That is a further and major reason why this practice of refraining from eating kitniyot on Pesach is not authoritative and may and in fact should be ignored.
Some wonder why so much attention needs to be given to the Kitniyot issue. What is the rabbi's reaction?
It is certainly true that this custom is a very small and minor issue in the realm of Judaism as a whole. If one looks at the big picture of Judaism, then obviously this pales into insignificance, and is also not a topic for discussion because I believe that I have any interest in knowing or caring what people eat or do not eat, as long as they're eating things which of course are permissible on Pesach. But there is of course no requirement to eat kitniyot on Pesach. That's entirely true. The issue here is of a philosophical and historical nature as well. When you have Jews scattered all over the globe in many different and disparate communities, it is natural over the course of time that many different minhagim will arise. Some of those minhagim will be more positive and worthy of being continued, and others will be less so. But putting that aside for now, as long as those communities live apart in different parts of the world, they usually will, by nature of things, they will continue acting as they're used to acting. However, the question is, what happens when all those Jews from those different countries around the world return to Eretz Yisrael, as has been happening now for some generations? Do we continue in the accustomed manner? Do we continue living according to GMJ, Galut Mode Judaism, whereby every community continues to follow its practices and behave exactly as it did in its country of origin, and essentially ignore the fact that we are now in a different reality, and thus ensure and guarantee that the reality of Galut and the differences between the Jews from different parts of the world will be continued and will be enshrined for all time? Or do we, on the other hand, look at this new reality and say to ourselves, what is it that Hashem wants us to do in this time and in this place? The Torah tells us, "Vatem tiyu li mamlechet kohanim v'goy kadosh." The Jewish people are supposed to be a holy nation. A nation is a group of people with a common bond, with a common vision, with a common agenda, and with a common purpose. And they are one nation, a group of disparate communities, a collection of different communities, acting in each in their own manner, each according to their own understanding and their own practices, their own habits, and not acting as one, not pulling together and reconstituting the Jewish nation as it should be, to be a Mamlechet Kohanim and a Goy Kadosh. Such a collection of communities cannot possibly bring about a reality in which the Jewish people will return to their true purpose and to their true aim in this world, and in order to complete Hashem's plan for the Jewish people and for the world. And by way of example, I would mention, in contrast to the truly irrelevant practice of Kitniyot, I would mention the very, very major and central concept and mitzvah of the Torah, namely the Korban Pesach, the sacrifice which is connected to the festival of Passover. As long as the Jewish people focus on issues such as Kitniyot, do we or do we not eat, and what do we eat exactly, what is considered Kitniyot, etc., etc., when this minhag from its inception is based on error and deserves to be ignored for all kinds of reasons, including the fact that it costs Jews many extra dollars in their pre-Pesach bills, for requiring them to buy all kinds of products that they do not really need to buy at all. It also limits the Pesach menu, etc., which has a negative impact on Simchat HaChag, on the celebration of the festival, etc. But apart from all these reasons, it does something else, something very, very profound and very pernicious, and that is it deflects our attention from the main things, from the most important things, from the big picture. The big picture is Why do the Jewish people not have a Mikdash? Why do we not have a Korban Pesach? Why did we not have one last year? Why do we not have one this year? And the way things look right now, we won't have one next year either. Why is that so? As long as we obsess about and talk about and care about something which doesn't deserve our attention at all, namely Kitniyot, we will not have the energy and the resources and the time to discuss the important things. Instead of looking at the big picture, we look at the minutiae and even things which are less than minutiae, things which are positively negative and detrimental. This is the great tragedy of being so involved and being so insistent upon maintaining such minhagim, which all the major Rishonim discounted completely, because it deflects us from the true purpose and aim of the Jewish people and a complete reconstitution of Jewish existence in Eretz Yisrael.
Thank you, Rabbi Bar-Hayim. We would like to encourage our viewers to share these videos with friends and send in your responses. We would also like to suggest the following opportunity to our viewers. If you identify with Rabbi Bar-Hayim's message and would like to sponsor or dedicate a video interview with the rabbi in honor or memory of a loved one, if you would like to obtain Birkon Nusach Eretz Yisrael, or invite the rabbi for a speaking engagement, please email us at office@machonshilo.org.